What was it I said about Meghan Markle?
I am. Would you let me talk?
Ever that's been racist?
Are you going to let me talk, or are you just going to overtalk me?
Just answer the question. Stop asking different questions.
Meghan Markle, loved by some, despised by others. But if there's one thing that unites critics, it's their frustration with her. And today, we have not one but three outspoken voices: Piers Morgan, Dr. Jordan Peterson, and Andrew Tate, who are holding nothing back. Piers calls her insufferable, Peterson breaks down the psychology behind her behavior, and Tate.
What about the issue of race? And I mentioned that in the context of the Harry and Meghan ongoing debate, their war with the royal family, war against the monarchy, their specific constant referencing to the fact that they believe they were driven out of here because of racism in Britain. What do you make of that debate?
That's absolute fallacy.
And you're from a mixed race background yourself.
Correct. I'm from a mixed race background myself. And while we're discussing the leaders of the UK, although I do think they're doing a terrible job, it's kind of hard for Meghan to say that the UK is a racist country when the leader of the UK is darker skinned than her and the mayor of London is darker skinned than her. And I am a person who's probably darker skinned than her, and I've never experienced any kind of bigotry against myself besides the fact I'm a straight male. I'll get bigotry for that before I'll get bigotry for my skin color. I think it's just a cop-out, and her not wanting to be perspicacious and self-reflective enough to understand that she has attacked an age-old institution, and there are people who are very patriotic about that institution. And by attacking it and bringing a degree of distaste to it, there's going to be people who don't like her. And if you're a dislikable person, you can't just instantly stand up and say it's because of my skin color. It might be because of your actions and some of the things you've said.
I mean, I think there's probably no doubt she's had racism on social media because it's...
Who hasn't, Piers?
It's assessed.
You probably have.
Well, as I said just now, I've had death threats on social media and no one seemed to care very much.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably inarguable. My issue with what they've both been doing is if you're going to make allegations against an institution like the royal family and the monarchy, you've got to actually provide some evidence. You can't just spray gun this thing out there and say, well, somebody was racist.
Yeah, and airing dirty laundry is never going to be respected by the populace, and being a tattletale is never going to be respected by the populace. And I think the problem with the modern world we're living in is a lot of age-old traditions are being destroyed in real time. It doesn't matter what the tradition is. Most of them are being eroded. And something like the British royal family, which has been around for a very long time, is an age-old tradition. One of the things holding the UK together, one of the last things we have.
Well, you already know he's got something to say. Let's get into it. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Let's go. Piers Morgan has made it clear he thinks Meghan Markle is a narcissist, a manipulator, and an actress in the worst way possible.
To sit and detriment it, and to sit and insult it, and to give away secrets from inside of it, and try and paint a negative image of it is going to upset a lot of people, and you have to be prepared for that backlash. You can't say I've done things that upset people, but it's nothing to do with what I've done. It's purely because of my skin color. Also, it's kind of ironic that she's doing that because she's not particularly dark-skinned. It's kind of funny to watch her sit and say,
yeah,
race.
I think the truth is, I don't know what... Look, you can say that, I can't. The reality of it is, I just don't know what the specifics of the racism she says she's had because we've not seen any evidence.
The universe is a funny place, Piers. If you're looking for something, you're going to find it, right? When I got cancelled, when they attacked me unfairly, lied about me across the entire mainstream media, deleted me from social media so I couldn't defend myself, and lied about me repeatedly, I could have stood up and said, it's because I'm brown. I didn't do that. I sat and said, okay, there's people who misunderstand my message. My message is a positive one. People misunderstand me. Let me self-reflect and understand that, yes, perhaps this said a long time ago was said in the wrong way. Perhaps this was misunderstood. Perhaps people don't understand this. I could have just copped out and could have just been refusing to self-reflect on any level and said, it's because I'm brown, that's why they did it. But that's not the mature way to be as an adult.
I want to turn to somebody else who may well have presidential ambitions and has been the subject of a lot of negativity. Meghan Markle, Prince Harry's wife, who does this podcast, Archewell podcast, or Archetypes it's called, in which she seems to perennially play the victim, the female victim of all outrages. And your name got dragged into this. Let's take a listen to what she said.
Raise your hand if you've ever been called crazy or hysterical. Or what about nuts, insane, out of your mind, completely irrational?
I don't think that men can control crazy women.
The use of these labels has been drilled into us from movies and TV, from friends and family, and even from random strangers. And the fact is, No one wants this label.
But what is it about her that infuriates him so much? Is it the way she portrays herself as a victim? The way she supposedly ghosted people who helped her? Or is it simply the fact that she and Harry refuse to take accountability for anything?
Insufferable.
Man, he really doesn't hold back, does he? But is he being too harsh, or is he saying what a lot of people are thinking?
What did you make of that, Jordan, to be suddenly appearing on Meghan Markle's podcast as a villain?
The first
who was
thing I make
calling
of
women
it
crazy
is that the first thing I make of it is that her voice drips with the same falsehood that the voice of Kamala Harris drips with. It's this sanctimonious, faux compassionate, talking down to her audience and trying to be sure that we're all really on the same compassionate page here, and we're all being victimized by terrible forces that are arrayed against us, and none of that's really fair. And it just grates on me. And I do believe you played a bit of a clip from me when I was talking to Paglia, Camille Paglia, the literary critic. And I do believe that it is the case that it's very difficult to control female antisocial behavior, often of the type that's been pilloried as hysterical. And I think that there is no shortage of clinical evidence to support precisely that claim. It's very difficult for women to control female antisocial behavior, and females who are antisocial, that feminine pattern is reputation savaging under the guise of compassionate care. And it's extraordinarily destructive. And so I stand by my words.
Absolutely.
And I do think it scales online, because you can use an anonymous reputation savaging to unbelievably great effect online with absolutely no punishment for your sins, so to speak. And that is certainly one of the things that's contributing to so-called cancel culture. And there's no shortage of that coming from the female side. Now, men can engage in exactly the same strategies, and they do so online, and that's enabled. But it's definitely, see, with men, and I've said this before, and I do believe this to be the case, the ever-present threat of the potential for physical violence.
Enter Dr. Jordan Peterson, who takes a more analytical approach. He's argued that Meghan embodies a modern trend of self-victimization, using perceived oppression as a tool to gain sympathy and power. According to him, this isn't about racism or media bias. It's about a pattern of behavior seen in many public figures today.
Keeps men from doing that to each other most of the time in person. And that all disappears online, and that means that those who are prone to do such things, to use corrosive and denigrating derision, for example, and reputation savaging, can have a free hand at it, and that includes no shortage of women, and women are often, very, very often, the targets of that behavior from their own fellows, so to speak.
Ernest, thank you very much indeed for joining me. And now, I don't know much about you, other than you wrote a piece last week for Rolling Stone magazine saying cancel culture is good for democracy. So I'm going to come to that ludicrous premise in a minute. But I also remember you tweeting when I left Good Morning Britain, a series of tweets calling me a racist, including enjoying how folks keep getting Piers Morgan together for his racist tirades against Meghan Markle on Good Morning Britain. I was just curious, could you remember a single racist thing that I said about her, or have ever said about her?
Well, thank you for having me on, Piers. I was surprised when I found out I would be on your show.
We're an uncensored show, Ernest. We take all types on here.
Well, all types. Well, there you go. But I think really a lot of it just seemed to be biased. I think that you was really just harsh on the Duchess of Sussex. And I think there was a little bit of bias in the way that you had really gone after her.
Yeah, but Ernest, to be clear, I didn't ask you about that. I just said, what were the racist tirades? What racist thing have I ever said about Meghan Markle? I'm curious. You tweeted quite a few times that I was a racist. I'm just curious, what was the racism?
I said your remarks was racist. I didn't say verbatim
what were the remarks that were racist?
I think that it's biased. I think that you had a sense of bias of how you were speaking about her and how you was really being insensitive to her mental health and how you being biased a lot of her concerns.
Being biased or sceptical of some of her claims is not the same as being racist. What was the thing I said that was racist?
I never... Hold on.
This is a classic case of someone who wants status without responsibility.
Damn, that's deep. Do you think he's onto something here? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you thought Piers and Peterson were blunt, just wait until you hear Andrew Tate's take. He doesn't just criticize Meghan. He straight up says she's using Prince Harry as a pawn.
Do you want the person of color to speak, or do you want to just talk over me?
Nothing to do with your skin colour, Ernest.
Is...
Sorry, nothing to do with your skin colour. I don't care if you're black or white or anything else.
I
just want you to try and tell me, given you tweeted to your many followers repeatedly.
Are you going to let me talk?
By the way,
repeatedly.
You did this repeatedly. You have called me a racist repeatedly for racist things I've said about Meghan Markle.
I said you made racist remarks. I did not call you a racist.
To stand by what you tweeted. What was it I said about Meghan Markle?
I am. Would you let me talk?
Ever that's been racist?
You have recently chosen, lately in your career, for whatever reason, you went the road of basically baiting into a lot of the biased coverage of Meghan Markle.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it has been
this is the
racist
problem,
attacks. A lot of it
Ernest.
has been targeted towards her in a biased way. And come on, can you admit that the coverage around Meghan Markle has been racially biased? Can you admit that?
Absolutely not.
Not talking about your work,
no, I think
but
it's
in
good.
general.
I think it's another load of absolute hogwash. Nonsense.
So you're dismissing the role of race in all of this. You don't think none of this has a role
I'm
in
saying
any of
the
the
British
coverage she's been
media,
getting?
the British media has never been racist about Meghan Markle.
Okay, that's just a lie.
And
we're
not a lie.
We're going to agree to disagree.
It's not
we're
a lie. It's
agree
a
to
fact.
disagree.
It's a fact.
No, it's not.
What is a lie?
No, it's not.
What is a lie, Ernest, is you telling people repeatedly, I'm a racist, and then you can't produce any evidence other than it's your feeling.
I said you made a racist tirade.
Yeah.
And you're offended, but here's the thing: you're blaming me for the criticism.
I'm not offended.
You said
Ernest.
you're blaming me as a high influential black person,
I'm calling out your lies, and by the way, it has nothing again.
You're blaming me for your criticism.
It has nothing to do with your skin colour, Ernest. I don't care.
But you literally said you said I was a black influential person. You named my race. You said you're a black influential person, and that's why people thought that way.
I think when
so why did you bring my race into it?
I think when high-profile black people like you go public on Twitter.
Okay, high-profile black people like me. Go ahead.
Go public on Twitter and call me a racist.
You went public on Meghan Markle. Continue.
People believe it.
She took a prince, made him soft, and now she's in control. That's how it works.
Oof, that's gotta sting. But is he wrong? Is Meghan really the one pulling the strings, or is Harry just as responsible for his choices? As expected, the internet is completely divided. Some people think Meghan is unfairly attacked by the media, while others believe she's exactly what Piers, Peterson, and Tate describe her as.
And you know what? It's a
And people believe what you said about Meghan Markle, or no?
It's a lie.
I watched you yesterday and the day before. I watched you be gaslit by two ignorant black women. I actually felt quite sorry for you. So I want to say, welcome to the club, Piers Morgan. How does it feel to be gaslit when claiming something is racism? How does it feel? It's annoying, right? It's annoying.
Well, Tricia, here's your chance to respond. This was, of course, about our quite fiery debate in which I got very exercised about the fact that Meghan and Harry for 2 years led the world to believe that the palace had been racist about the skin colour of their baby. And then they decided to turn around and say, actually, we never meant that at all, which I thought was deplorable. You defended it, and that was Iman's verdict on your defence. I was basically getting gaslit. What's your response?
Not so much the gaslit bit, but I guess Iman and I would have to agree to disagree. I wouldn't call anybody ignorant just because they don't agree with my point of view. And I don't think it's helpful, especially when we're discussing something like racism, and you know, one black person calling another person ignorant because they don't agree. That I find sad. I'm saddened by that, and you know, so I'm not going to pick a fight with Iman about that because I've seen that happen you know, I've worked in the media for 35 years. I know how that game's played. So that would be my only comment. She's entitled to her view. You're entitled to your view. I'm entitled to my view. But I actually think it's quite disgraceful to label someone ignorant purely because they don't agree with you.
So it's not acceptable to call someone ignorant, but you can call them disgraceful, Iman.
Well,
no, I said doing it is disgraceful.
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's the same thing. You just called it disgraceful.
No, I'm saying...
Iman, you're disgraceful for calling Tricia ignorant.
I think it's...
Well, Tricia, we just heard you. You just said she was disgraceful.
Exactly.
So let her answer the charge of being a disgrace.
I didn't say she was disgraceful.
OK. Iman, you're a disgrace for calling Tricia ignorant.
I think I'm awesome, personally, so I just want to throw that out there. Secondly, I never called you ignorant because you didn't agree with my opinion. I called you ignorant because you have a lack of knowledge. There's a clear difference.
One thing's for sure, this conversation isn't going away anytime soon.
What do you think? Is Meghan Markle as insufferable as they say, or is she just misunderstood? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
This debate isn't ending anytime soon, and I want to hear what you think. So make sure to comment below, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more.
Until next time, stay tuned and stay sharp.